Today we got some unfortunate but not necessarily shocking Red Sox news. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on the second video of today. Listen, we kind of knew that there were going to be more roster moves coming for the Boston Red Sox, right? Between the trade of Rafael Devers, the fact that they only scored 5 runs in that entire series on 9 hits, and the fact that you got a couple of guys potentially coming off the IL within the next couple of weeks here, specifically Wilyer Abreu, who's coming off the IL tomorrow, we knew that there was going to be some shifting around, that the Red Sox were going to play with things a bit and try and figure out what the best combination was. Well, today we got our first glimpse as to what the beginning of that plan looks like, because unfortunately, according to Jeff Passan, who broke the news, I don't know, a couple of hours ago here, the Boston Red Sox have decided that they are going to option Kristian Campbell down to minor league baseball. And like I said in the intro, right, it's unfortunate, but it's not incredibly shocking, and for a couple of different reasons here. I think obviously the first sort of unsurprising reason the Red Sox could potentially be sending him down is because of the fact that the bat just simply hasn't been able to figure itself out at the major league level, at least for a long period of time, right? So, because after March/April, mostly April, if we're being honest, I always hate when places are like, oh, March and April. No, it's really just April. That's a personal vendetta I have against statisticians, but totally besides the point here. He had a fantastic one of those, right? It was 301 average, 407 on base percentage, 495 slug for a 902 OPS. He was looking like a legitimate major piece to this Red Sox team, and then things kind of came to a screeching halt in May, and it really started to take a downturn from there, because during that month, he hit just 134 with a 184 on base percentage and just a 171 slug for a 355 OPS. That's not good no matter which way you slice it, but in my opinion, the most shocking part of all of this is the fact that that power potential just simply has not translated at all really to Major League Baseball outside of a singular month, right? That first month, he had 4 home runs and 8 doubles. Since then, he's had 2 home runs and 2 doubles in 34 games compared to the 29 he had in April. So it's like, it just sort of disappeared there. And it's just not just like the power numbers are going away. It's on base percentage too. In minor league baseball, Kristian Campbell was a guy who, yes, struck out a pretty decent amount, but at the major league level, but also always continued to have that sort of keen eye, right? His walk percentage was always really high. Not incredibly high, but certainly higher than the normal average player there. We haven't really seen that in Major League Baseball at all. This month, he was picking it up a bit, and as I mentioned, that sort of contact high walk rate started to come back a little bit for Kristian Campbell. This month, he hit 205, which isn't great, but that on-base percentage was all the way up at 340. That's really solid considering that average number, right? That means he's taking his walks. It means he's starting to make a bit more contact again. We started to see signs of life, but that power number really just wasn't there. 318 slug. It was a 658 OPS in the month of June, right? We knew that there were conversations about this. We knew that the Red Sox were sitting there and they were saying, trying to figure out whether or not this was the right move for Kristian Campbell. We actually talked about it a couple of weeks ago. The other thing I think that really sort of pushed this over the edge for the Red Sox was the idea that his defense just simply wasn't major league ready either, right? It would be one thing if he was struggling at the plate, but giving you, not Gold Glove, but above average defense on the field. You'd be like, okay, we can hide him in the back of the lineup, but he's giving you something that at least, is going to help your team win baseball games. Right now, it's just not happening that way. Kristian Campbell towards the bottom of the league and outs above average when it comes to second baseman. The arm strength just isn't there. He has some of the most errors on the big league club, right? It's just, it's in combination, basically. It's in combination here where you look at both of these things and you say, okay, I kind of see why the Red Sox send him down. And in my opinion, there are 2 schools of thought with this. And we've actually broken down these 2 schools of thought before using Mike Trout and Alex Bregman as examples, so I'm not going to go too heavily into it again, but I did want to talk about it a little bit, right? There's 2 ways as fans, or I guess even as the players themselves, can look at this, right? You can either get sent back down and use it as a time to, or view it as a time to bring yourself back up confidence-wise, bring yourself back up mechanically. And a lot of times players mention this one same thing, and that is taking the opportunity to slow the game down, right? Sitting there and saying, okay, and just simply breathing, remembering how to have fun playing baseball, how to just simply be the player that you were that got you to that point where you were given the massive extension, where you were given a spot on the opening day roster despite your performance in spring training, right? How do we get Kristian Campbell feeling like he could play like that player again? And sometimes getting down into AAA with no pressure, with no real scrutiny on him, he could just sort of figure things out on his own, and maybe it takes a month or 2 months or whatever, but maybe that's the other way. I think on top of just simply looking at it from a confidence standpoint and an ability to slow the game down standpoint, we also need to look at it from a bit of a experience standpoint as well. I mean, Kristian Campbell's such a unique case when it comes to a prospect, right? He was drafted in 2023, basically with the big league club in 2025. He only has 137 games in minor league in total and just 19 games in AAA, right? That's a whole lot less experience than a lot of guys end up getting by the time they get to Major League Baseball. I mean, that's even less than Roman Anthony, and it's way less than Marcelo Mayer. You're talking about essentially 2/3 of a season here that Kristian Campbell's had in minor league baseball before he was put in the show. So just simply getting him down there and continue to build that experience to really develop this sort of confidence we talked about, develop this sort of ability to slow the game down we talked about, could also be beneficial too in this scenario. The other way to look at this is sort of negatively, right? And I actually don't think this is an unfair way to look at this at all. If you're somewhere on this side, I actually do kind of understand it, right? And that's okay, so the guy isn't confident, right? The guy's not performing super well. So let's tell him he's not good enough for Major League Baseball. Let's send him down to minor league baseball where he's going to face way less competition and have him figure out how to fix himself at the Major League level against pitching that's just so much more below what the Major League level is, right? How much more can you learn in AAA? Are you going to really improve on anything if you're not facing the highest quality stuff in the world, right? You could fix everything in AAA, get back up here, realize you did nothing in terms of improving against the type of competition there is at the Major League level, and then end up failing again. And I think that's kind of an interesting way to look at things. I'm somewhere in the middle on this, to be honest with you, right? Where you sit there and you say, well, you could see why the Red Sox maybe sit there and say, look, we can't have this guy starting every single day, right? And kind of seeing how, okay, maybe a month and a half, whatever it is, in AAA could really benefit Kristian, right? But I could also see how, you sit there and you say, look, you committed to this guy, right? We go back to Rafael Devers trade, which is going to sort of inch itself in every conversation I think we have for the rest of the year, but you made that guy a DH because you believed in Kristian Campbell so much, right? That's at the end of the day what happened here, right? You didn't move Alex Bregman to third base solely because you didn't believe in Rafael Devers' defense. It was also because you believed in who Kristian Campbell was. Now Rafael Devers is playing in San Francisco mainly because of this whole scenario, right? You gave Kristian Campbell a whole lot of money, and now things aren't working out. So there's that extra layer to all this as well, which kind of throws a wrench into things. In terms of who's replacing him, right now it appears as though Wilyer Abreu will just be simply taking his spot, and Nate Eaton will stay on the club. I don't really know who's going to be playing second base every day. They have a couple of options, right? You've got Romy you could throw in there. You've got obviously David Hamilton, who's really not doing much better, at least at the plate, but at least he'll give you pretty decent defense over there. You've got Marcelo, who could take over at second base a little bit, right? You've got Nate Eaton, who I think could play some second base, actually, or at the bare minimum, he could play some third base that would kick Marcelo Mayer over to second base. So you've got enough options at the Major League level here. I'm also curious to see if this has any impact on Alex Bregman's timeline, right? You sit there and you talk about when's Bregman coming back, when Bregman coming back. If you're going to put or change up your infield at all, could it be because they think Bregman's closer than we all kind of realize? I don't know. That's kind of the conspiracy theorist in me, but at the end of the day, it sucks, right? It sucks that the guy that you not only invested in, but we as fans got super excited for just isn't getting it done at the Major League level. I'm not done believing in Kristian Campbell. I don't think you should be done believing in Kristian Campbell. This happens to plenty of people. It happened to Mike Trout, right? If it can happen to Mike Trout, it can happen to anybody, and they can come back and be better than they are. And I truly don't think this is the last we're going to see of Kristian Campbell this year. I just feel bad for the dude. So let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think? What do you think of the move the Red Sox made? And what do you think it means for Kristian Campbell's future? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. As always, like I always say, if you made it to the end of the video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button as well. Just simply helps out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.